Well, g'day everyone, and welcome back to our regatta reviews with the illustrious Alan Crute, who's been on the banks of the sunny, cold, or windy, I don't know what it was, we'll find out, down at Ballarat on the weekend for the Ballarat 2K Regatta on Saturday. Alan, before we get too much into it, was it pleasant on the side of Lake Wendouree on Saturday? What was the weather like?
No. It was choppy at the start, Guy, and then after lunch it got choppier and windier, and then it eased off in the afternoon.
But so perfect Ballarat conditions.
Yeah. In fact, one mum who I was talking to, the mother of one of the lasses who won a World Championship bronze medalist last season, a bronze medal last season, I beg your pardon. She was saying that Paris was very similar, which is why the Ballarat crew did so well, because the choppy Paris was very similar to the choppy Ballarat.
Well, I always say with a lot of things, you want to do the training and the racing in the tough conditions, because you can never determine what happens on race day.
That's exactly
and
right.
You've got to be ready for it, rain, hail, or shine. And Ballarat is the perfect example of that.
Exactly.
Alan, tell me, the Ballarat 2K Regatta, I've not noticed the name around a lot. Can you tell me a bit about what that regatta actually is?
Well, they've added 2K into the name recently, but essentially it's a regatta suited for MUBC, Mercs, and the other elite clubs, and schools potentially, and there's some club rows there. So in essence, what happens is the only schoolgirls and schoolboys there are the ones that are up there for camp or from Ballarat.
Right.
So then you have your MUBC, Mercantile, Yarra, Banks folk. So they're competing in things like under 21 pairs, fours, doubles, and so on. So the standard racing is fantastic, except as far as the schools go, there's hardly anybody there. Yeah, so we had St Catherine's, Carey, Caulfield Grammar Intermediates, one or two others, but that was about it. And it was a bit lower than normal. And I don't know what they're going to do with this regatta. They might just leave it as it is. In theory, over 1,000 metres, it would be a great club regatta.
Yeah,
because it's too early for the schools. The problem is that's just after your magnificent Rutherglen.
Yes, of course, and we're still recovering from Rutherglen for many reasons. But
yes, but the other problem is that you need a 2K regatta for our elite club crews, because they have to go into nationals very soon, and they need distance. Sure. So it's very hard. I mean, I'm not sure what they're going to do with it.
I noticed there's only 212 entries.
That's right.
I think, is this the same? I remember back in school rowing days that the Australia Day weekend used to be the Geelong on the Saturday and the Ballarat, I think, on the Sunday or the Monday. I can't recall. Is this the same regatta just being rehashed onto the week before? Might be something like that.
Well, I can't go back before early last decade, but the first one I attended was in 2013, and it was small.
Yep.
And then they actually skipped it for a couple of years, or 2 or 3 years, and then it came back. And it's usually had 250 to 350 entrants.
Right. So it's well down.
Because the school entrants have been higher, and sometimes, like last season, Ballarat Grammar Road, and sometimes Damascus Road. So you actually need a few school entries. And also at the moment, MUBC's got a good quorum of squad members, but some of the other clubs don't. I mean, for instance, Mercantile is down, I would have thought. And, it was a bit sleepy. There were only about 2 tents up.
Oh, right. Not much of a vibe going on.
No, it wasn't. But I tell you what, it was good, because I met a lot of the competitors and the parents, and that was fun. Yep. And I learned lots of stuff, most of which I can't air here, but that's okay.
Wow. Yeah, well, I mean, this is the place to air it, isn't it?
Well, it is.
You heard it first on the Coxswain's Journey. We can all get into trouble.
We'll see how we go as we go through. I guess the major news of the day was that St Catherine's did very well in their racing.
Yep.
they had a very strong supporter base, including the new acting principal.
Right.
They pumped up the first crew with their best inter. They changed it. Even one of the St Catherine's parents, said to me they changed their style of rowing, which was interesting.
All right.
I don't know quite what they were referring to there, but basically they beat a Carey by 28 seconds in the.
So that's a bit of a margin, that one.
Well, it is in the
10 lengths
schoolgirl event, but more importantly, in the underage event, the under 21 event, they actually split the MUBC crews.
Ooh.
And they got within 8 seconds of the first MUBC crew. Now,
wow.
MUBC at this stage are just, sort of getting their crews going, because a lot of those girls have just come out of school. But that was a good performance. So if you thought that, say, St Catherine's were out of the top 4 after their reasonably flat performance at the Melbourne Head, you probably would have them up there now. You'd have them in the top 4 or 5.
Yeah, sure.
They were very impressive. Their seconds were actually faster than Carey's firsts.
Oh wow.
So
that's good depth then, isn't it?
Yeah, well, there's not as much depth as there used to be, but that was promising.
Yep.
And I thought, I would have thought those St Catherine's parents would have gone away pretty happy with that. And I actually saw two of their coaches who don't usually smile smiling.
Oh well, there we go.
There we go.
So would that wouldn't have been a surprise though for you, would it?
Not that they won, but the ease of which they won was noticeable, and the fact that they got so close to the leading MUBC crew in the under 21 event was impressive. The real test will come this week at the Barwon.
Yep.
However, just be aware at the Barwon, sometimes you can, like last year at the Barwon, the 5th place crew was MGGS, which won nationals.
Yeah, right.
So, you know what that draws.
Yeah, like. I suppose it depends on who's been doing what over Christmas and when rowing camps were and all of that sort of thing.
Well, one of the problems with this regatta at Ballarat is that most of the schools, including the Ballarat schools, are doing rowing camp.
Rowing camp this week, yeah.
I mean, I had the audacity to suggest that Damascus should take over hosting this regatta. I was politely told when I got up there that Damascus are on rowing camp. The other thing that's interesting is that, as I said earlier, I mean, some of the Ballarat folk are not sure about this regatta either. I mean, one of the senior people from the Ballarat Rowing Association said to me, well, we should probably, have 1,000-metre events and all the rest of it. So I don't know what's going to happen with that regatta. It's just one of the many things that Rowing Victoria's got to sort out, I suppose.
Oh yeah, well I won't. Let's not get political about RV on this one, but
no, it's not. That's not being too political. I mean, they're looking at their schedule all the time. I'm sure.
Yeah. It'd be a nightmare, but anyway. So any sort of standouts? I mean, obviously, as you said, the schools were very lightly covered. Was it?
Some of the under 21 rowers were brilliant.
Yeah.
But we won't dwell on that because they're a bit beyond schoolgirls. The other interesting thing was that Ballarat Clarendon, who of course have won nationals the last 2 years, and were third the previous year. Of course, that era is now over. They couldn't quite match it with the clubs in under 21s, which wasn't unexpected. Neither to me or their coaching staff. However, they did quite well in the schoolgirl event. So I don't think, I think in terms of their priorities, it'll be head of the lake, which is like the APS head of the river, and head of schoolgirls. So they're well in the mix.
Yeah.
I don't think they're necessarily in the mix in nationals, but because, you've had the best crew probably in a generation or two before them, and for the next few years, all those Ballarat Clarendon crews are going to be compared to them.
Yep.
And I think that's a bit of a shame, but that's just life. But they're fine, and but that was interesting. Again, Carey didn't fire, which was a problem. So that's a shame. In what else should I mention to you? Oh, look, in the smaller boats, I had the pleasure of meeting both of Kate McNeil and Clodagh McCarthy.
Right, yep.
Who were the real sort of superstars in the first half of the year. Both of them are doing this Haileybury online course, which I think I've talked to you about before.
Yeah.
And I learnt the weekend a bit of gossip that another Division 1 rower from another school has joined Haileybury to do the same thing.
Right.
So that's interesting. The girls were second in the under-21 pair, and they beat 3 MUBC boats. Katie won the schoolgirl double sculls. She was second in the single sculls to Alice Joyce, who looks almost certain to win that.
Yep.
Pair schoolgirls. But the interesting thing there is, what are they going to do at Nationals? I mean, this year that Nationals is just 1 week after head of schoolgirls.
Yeah.
So as we've seen in the past, some of these elite scullers may not compete at head of schoolgirls. They might just go straight to Sydney. Or they get on that Sunday flight from Avalon, which my daughter did 1 year. So I think with Katie and Clodagh, they're both classy. That's a classy act. I don't think they'll compete against Alice at schoolgirls, but they'll win gold. It'll probably be in inter doubles or inter singles or whatever. Take your pick. And the only other thing I'd mention is Octavia Thompson, who's a Shelford single sculler who's been mid-fleet most of her career, actually has come to, she's improving considerably, and she won the under-19 single.
Oh, that's good.
Now, and that's about it. Any questions, sir?
Well, no, I haven't got any questions. It is sort of a pretty light one, isn't it, the old Ballarat?
Yeah.
But more importantly, next weekend, what are any thoughts on what's going to happen? I mean, this is where it all sort of will start.
This is the major one. This is one of Rowing Victoria's major regattas.
Yeah.
The Barwon Regatta has been going for 143 years, and all but 4 schools have entered. Okay. So Loreto Ballarat don't usually enter. That's fine. Brighton, which is the big story, haven't entered.
Right. Why would that be, do you know?
Well, they've had a change of administration there in terms of who's running the program.
Oh.
But the interesting thing with Brighton is they usually do this regatta, the New South Wales regatta. They choose whether they do states, and then they do head of schoolgirls. Well, they're not going to go to Ballarat because they've rowed at Ballarat once in the last 10 years. So the interesting thing here is what's happening there. I don't know. The other 2 schools that aren't here are Toorak College and Hamilton Alexandra. Toorak College perhaps don't compete because their borders aren't back, perhaps. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
So this week in 8's Division 1, everybody's competing except for Caulfield Grammar, who've got some girls missing, so they've gone to Division 2.
Yep.
The big excitement in quads is MGC versus Gippsland, and that'll be terribly exciting.
Yep, a nice tussle there.
And I'm looking forward to that.
Yep.
Of course, the other one there is Gippsland MGC. God, I've had a blank.
That's unlike you.
Guy, I've got nothing.
That's very unlike you, Alan. I'm just clicking into having a look on my screen here, and I see there is 12 entries for the 8s there. That's
I've got it here somewhere, my friend.
You're fine.
Yeah, I mean you've essentially got Barwon's the other one, which I always forget.
Yeah.
So Barwon is the old Cardinia, and that's
yes, that's right. Yeah.
So what you've got here in that race is you've got schools like Melbourne Girls Grammar School putting half of their first 8 in there as well.
Yeah.
So you've got to break apart the quad schools versus the ones like Furbank and MGGS and St Catherine's who are rowing their intermediates.
Yep.
4s, well, the only interest there is the Ballarat schools. They entries, but you've got Clarendon and Ballarat Grammar. That's the major thing.
Yep.
And in double sculls is exceeding the 16 limit for one event at the Barwon. So they'll have to be split, that event, I would have thought.
Yeah.
So that just shows you how popular double sculls are.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
So really, the Ballarat Regatta, going back to that, is just a very passive affair, but high quality rowing.
Yeah.
So if you want to see some of the best in the state row, you go, but it's not really a school girl or schoolboy regatta.
Yeah. Sure.
Next week is a big one. I've started writing. I've done all the prep on the cruise. I just have to write it up now. So.
All right. Well, I'll be certainly keen to hear how things go. I'm down there on the Sunday, of course.
I know you are.
Having a bit of a run around, even getting behind on the end of an oar once or twice.
Well, I saw that, and I think that there's a large number of schools rowing on Sunday as well.
Yes, getting 2 days in.
Which you would have noticed.
Yeah.
And even the newest rowing school, Footscray High School, which are there.
Right.
Which is exciting. And I'm thinking of coming down a second time. I just don't know whether my body can handle standing up for about 12 hours for 2 days in a row.
You do awfully well, Alan. I must admit, I see you working your way around the crowds on Regatta Day, and I don't know how you do it, and your motivation and the mental aptitude of having to just communicate with everyone and get all the info that you're gleaning.
Well, I'm in an industry where you get paid to talk, so.
I know.
I
used to be in that fine industry.
I like, and I like meeting people and chatting to people.
Yeah.
And it's great fun.
Yeah.
And even the weekend was fun. I met. Particularly at those sort of regattas like the Ballarat Regatta, you get to meet the competitors.
Yeah.
So I met a lot of the competitors who I haven't, particularly Clodagh McCarthy, who's a delight.
Yeah.
I met her for the first time.
Yeah, right.
What a joy. I hadn't really had a chance to talk to Alice Joyce before, who's favourite to win singles. And we had a lovely chat, she and her dad and I. And so those are the things that you take away from those regattas, talking to people.
Yeah, more opportunity when it's smaller, isn't it?
Well, there's not as much happening, and people just float around. Whether it's parents or competitors, you get to talk to them.
Yeah,
and that's when you find out stuff.
Yeah, well, exactly the stuff that you can't mention here, but we might get something out of you at some point.
Well, I don't want to blow somebody's competition strategy for the next 10 weeks because I've heard
that's all right. We're not in the business of causing trouble. This is all just a bit of
fun.
Well,
as I've said to you before, 99% of the stuff I hear never goes anywhere.
No.
Otherwise, people wouldn't tell me stuff.
Well, that's exactly right. You give away your info, you won't get any more.
Well, that's right. I think, we need a big regatta like next Saturday because I think it's been a fairly sleepy start to the season, and I'm not sure why that is. I've been thinking about it a bit. I'm not sure it's the schedule or the. I don't know.
I mean, is there more to this? Because at Rutherglen, the Saturday was down 900 seat entries on the year before. That's a lot of entry fees that are being missed out on. Now, I don't know whether that's the scheduling. I do know that...
I thought the entries were up at Rutherglen.
No, I'm talking seat entries. So
seat entries were down.
Yeah. So what I'm getting at there is that, i.e., last year I did 15 races over the 2 days. As a coxswain, that's manageable, of course. I was pretty cactus at the end of it. But this year I was only entered in 4. And because there was clashes and the schedule was different to the year before, and it hasn't kicked in yet, but I don't know if you've heard about all these fines, if that's the right word to use, that are being now thrown on crews, or will be in February, I think it is, for cancelling. So you end up with a if you pull out of an 8 event, you can be up for an $880 fine. It's a fair chunk of dough for a small rowing club.
Absolutely.
So I think that's getting people scared off putting in entries that may not come about.
I noticed at the regatta next weekend, some of the medium-sized rowing schools are a bit light on in terms of entries. And there's different dynamics in each school.
Of course, yeah.
So, but you look at, poor old Shelford, who's about to dissolve. I mean,
Yep.
4 or 5 years ago, they had 4 or 5 seaters at senior level. And now they've got one and a couple of double scullers.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And so I think what's happening in rowing is the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer.
Yeah.
And as you know, we've lost 3 rowing. Haileybury's going.
Yep. Haileybury's going.
Guildford's been taken over.
Yep.
And Cardini's gone. Now, we might have gained a little Footscray High, but generally speaking, I think we've got a bit of a problem.
Yeah. Certainly seems that way. But anyway, that's for the powers that be to get on top of, isn't it? And try and work out what's going on. Yeah, well, okay. we won't go there. But anyway, look, that's been great, Alan. We'll be doing this again next week, of course.
We will. We'll have a bigger session next week. We'll probably be able to pick out a few winners for the majors after next week if we don't know already.
All right. Well, let's let's just do, before we get to next week, so we can put you on the spot. Who's going to win the first cruise and the second cruise of the Eights next week?
Well, in the first cruise,
Alan, I don't want 5 crews being. I want one crew.
One crew
from each.
Well, I think
race.
Loretto should still win. Loretto Turak should still win.
Right. Okay.
Particularly 1,500 metres that quick.
Yep. Oh, yeah. Of course, it's a different distance.
Second crew, E2 probably the same. Loretto.
Yep. And the quads.
Oh gosh. Well, those 3 schools I mentioned before. I mean, I actually think Gippsland Grammar will win.
There we go. Okay.
They've got their best 2 single scullers who competed at Nats and were brilliant.
Yep.
Durand and Tavaski in that boat. And I think I said to you last time, their performance at Melbourne Head was rather special. So I think they might win.
I have a feeling that if you said Tavaski from Gippsland, I think I had the pleasure of interviewing her mother, possibly.
You would have.
That's Kylie. And then I not only had the pleasure of interviewing, I had the pleasure of coxing her a few times with the sail.
Okay.
Up in Rutherglen.
I met her last year.
Yeah. Oh,
but that boat, I think, is very fast. So I think they might win.
Yep.
But when I say win, you've got to remember you've got all these boats coming out of split 8s and stuff. So I'm not really interested in that. I'm wondering. I need to know who the best quad boat is.
Yep. Sure.
So I think they'll be the best. But I tell you, MGC and Barwon are very, very good. So I'm looking forward to that race a lot.
All right. So you've given me one name, but you've backed it up with a few others. So
well, because unlike that English website that only picks one. I actually concede that I don't really know until I see a couple more regattas.
Yeah. Well, it is early days, and you don't know training and all that. What's happened over the summer
I think
break.
actually the quad competition is even. I think the 8s competition is probably more even than a lot of people think.
Yeah.
I think the 8s you'll have Wesley, Furbank, and a rising St. Cass trouble the top 3.
Yep.
And there might be 1 or 2 more that are floating around. So it's fun. And in singles, I think Alice Joyce will win, and I think in doubles, who knows yet, depends on who pops up. And in 4s, it'll be one of the Ballarat trio, but
of course, yeah.
They haven't raced against each other. There's more ducks and drakes in Ballarat.
They'd be seeing each other out training all the time, wouldn't they? Pull up alongside and just start testing each other out.
I'll tell you, I was talking to a number of the Ballarat Clarendon people the weekend, and I was stirring them up because, of course, as you might have noticed, they topped the 8R scores.
Yes, so they were pretty happy with that.
39, which is hitting the cover off the ball. But I was telling them I think we should, like the San Francisco 49ers, we should start calling them the Ballarat Clarendon 39ers.
Don't give them ideas, they'll probably run with that.
Because those Ballarat schools have names for each other. Some of them I can't mention here. But Clarendon is only called college, but it needs a proper name.
Right.
39ers, mate.
39ers. Sounds a bit American, though, doesn't it? Not for the school.
Listen, mate, half of our
Oh, yep, I know.
Population are going to the States. I think I said earlier, off to Yale, University of Pennsylvania. St. Catherine's ought to start a chapter over there.
Yeah.
Most of that crew from 2022 is studying in the States.
And that's the beauty of the sport and the opportunities it gives, isn't it?
That's it.
You know, and that's where a lot of people go, rowing, God, no, focus on your studies. Well, you know what? You can have both and get some really good studies.
Scholarship.
Yeah.
And you're at a prize American university.
Yeah. Absolutely. Brilliant opportunities are available. Anyway, we should probably wind it up for now. And we will chat again next week.
Yeah,
I might
the
see
big one
you
is next week.
On the weekend. I might, if you make your way down on Sunday.
I might try and come down Sunday. If I don't, I'll be there in spirit.
You'll be there in spirit.
I don't know if
you'll have had a big day on Saturday, so I wouldn't.
I think my body will have trouble standing up from 7 in the morning to 7 at night. I think.
Well, what you can do at the end of it, you can go to Little Creatures and have a cleansing ale, and you'll be ready to go for the Sunday.
Yeah, get picked up by Mr. Plod on the way back. Okay, mate.
All right, good on you, Alan. Thanks very much for your time, and we will speak to you soon.
Okay, bye.